Well, hello, this is Amelia Vogler, grounding and energy medicine specialist, and your host in the Energy Magazine exclusive interview series. Today, our guest is Debra Reis. Debra is a clinical nurse specialist, a certified healing touch practitioner, clinical aromatherapist, NIA movement instructor, which is one of my favorite exercises. She's an author and a presenter on holistic modalities and founder of the Supportive Therapy Engagement Program, or S.T.E.P. Debra is on a mission to share self-care tools to calm your chaos quickly. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you, Amelia. It's great to be here.
I just love your specialty of quick, calm the chaos quickly, because our life is just filled with text messages, media. It just seems like the pace of things is picking up
Yes.
exponentially. We're going to talk about the speed of things and what your work, how your work supports, kind of bringing some calm back and working with that pace. But when I went to your website, I noticed that you have a wonderful background, clinical nurse specialist, certified aromatherapist. And I was curious if you work with only healthcare providers or if you work with people like me, just lay people who are stressed out and chaotic.
Yes. No, absolutely. The S.T.E.P program you mentioned, is somewhat geared towards the health provider, health professional, but absolutely the tools that I wish to share and help others with is something that anybody can use and I agree with you. I think, even lately, it's just like everything, the world is moving quickly, and it's a challenge to get off that roller coaster, when you find yourself on it and you just keep rolling with it, that it's important that we recognize to take time, and that time can just be a couple of minutes. And that's really my main focus or purpose of my message is, yes, you can do something to calm your chaos in 5 minutes or less. And that can be anybody, no matter what your background or what your education or training might be. But if you want to be able to calm yourself or bring yourself into quiet for a few minutes, and we do know with research, just a few minutes can rebalance your whole immune system and rebalance your nervous system and get your whole mind, body, spirit in balance.
I'm so grateful that you offered that little bit of research. I was curious what you think the effects of this massive amount of hurried pace and stress, like what are you seeing from your perspective of what happens if we don't mitigate some of our stresses?
A great question, because it is really leading to health challenges. And we are seeing that now post-COVID, post the major stress of COVID. You think, okay, everything, a lot of times people think it's done or it's easing up, everything should be back to normal. And now this is where we are seeing some of the greater health challenges, greater mental issues coming about. And it's, again, it kind of follows the research that a lot of times things don't happen until 6 to 12 months after the initial stress insult that we see these conditions happening physically or emotionally within the person. So yes, I think this roller coaster that we tend to be on, we can truly physically burn ourselves out. I mean, there is with our adrenals and our immune system, and we really can deplete ourselves to a point where, we can cause some health challenges and some major issues. So just a few minutes can be very beneficial.
Debra, what are some of the things that an individual might look for, and maybe not look for might not be the right phrase, but what are some of the signs that our physical body or our mental body or our emotional bodies are kind of taking a turn, that we might be able to call up and go, hey, that's one of those things Debra was talking about. Maybe I need to go and do my S.T.E.P.
Right, right. You know, even things like physical symptoms. I mean, we all have like maybe our weak area. Like mine is a shoulder. I have neck and shoulder. When I get stressed, that's kind of where I start to feel it. So when that starts to happen more often, more frequent, without let up, those signs that maybe have been a sign for you or an indication, I need to slow down. But other things could be maybe you're forgetting, you forgot that appointment, you forgot to make that phone call, or that can be an indication. Or you're feeling a little bit scattered in your thought process and thought flow. Those are some ways. Or you just feel you can't catch your breath, and that's a lot of times what I'm hearing is, it's like you're moving, you just can't catch your breath. And the other thing, from an energy perspective, listen to the words that you're saying, your language. When you say, I'm scattered, I'm beside myself, I can't catch up with myself. Those are all energy words that we're saying to our system that, hey, we need to do something.
Well, so forgetting things, listening to our words, paying attention to our physical body, and noticing where our thoughts are. I think those are all really wonderful markers that we can kind of look for in our life. And you were talking about, okay, you have this really amazing supportive therapy engagement program, S.T.E.P, you like to call it. It's an online course, right?
Yes.
And maybe you
correct.
could tell us a little bit about how did it come to be? I definitely want to hear about it, but how did you dream it up? Where did it come from?
Well, it actually came from my own experiences as a nurse. And I've got about 40 years experience, and I started using, and I can remember the exact time in my career where I was, what I was doing, when I said there has got to be something else than just putting the pieces together and just putting things together in with our patients. And that's when a whole world of different complementary therapies opened up for me. And I started to, explore them and really integrate them into my life, because I was feeling stressed and on that roller coaster and trying to juggle family, work, and everything else that goes with it. And how can I do that and do that without depleting myself? So these were tools that I found for myself, like healing touch, aromatherapy, the NIA that you mentioned. Those were all very important important integration of different therapies. So it wasn't just one, it was really integrating. And then I had the opportunity to start using that in the clinical setting and found, wow, there's more. This is part of what we can do to help somebody feel whole. And it's not just putting pieces together, but help them to feel whole in bringing these modalities into that setting. So it really was something that I found very helpful for patients and clients. But at the same time, I found the professional, the nurse, the other nursing assistants and others were really struggling, and some of the things I heard from them were, Deb, this is a great tool, love healing touch, love aromatherapy, but I just don't have time. I'm in a busy setting. And you can apply this even in the family world. I've got a busy life with my family and work. How am I going to do these tools in my life? And so that really put me, it's like, you can, I know you can. So that put me on this mission of, what can we do to hone it down? It's important to know, like you were saying, it's important to know maybe the research and how it works, but then how can I do that and apply it in 5 minutes or less and bring myself to balance, my children, my family, or my clients or patients? So how can I extend that into the world? So that's the premise really of S.T.E.P. But I think it certainly is something the tools can be used, outside of health providers.
Well, and you mentioned tools, plural. So maybe you could share a little bit about the program and because NIA is body-based, healing touch
Yes,
is energy-based. And so,
yes,
and I heard you mention whole person. This is a whole person approach. So, my little brain's putting this puzzle together going, hey, I think that what Debra's offering here is on a lot of different levels. So
yes.
can you share a little bit about what the architecture of the program is like?
Yes, absolutely. And I call it three pillars, so there are like really three pillars. So there's the relaxation techniques. So there are various relaxation techniques that you can use to help calm your chaos. Things like healing touch. And you can take that down. I mean, we know, many of us know healing touch is it's a very big program, but there are tools that you can take down and really use them effectively and quickly. And things like breath technique, visualization, those all fall under that pillar of relaxation.
Uh-huh.
And then there's aromatherapy. So aromatherapy is becoming really very popular, but with popularity comes concern for safety.
Right.
So making sure we're using aromatherapy safely and with a plan, medications, conditions. So making sure we can use that for inhalation, topical, in a bath. So there's various ways that we can use that pillar of aromatherapy for calming, relaxing. And then there is the gentle movement like Nia. And Nia is, yes, it's body, but it's also mind and spirit. So when you are moving, you are really moving and feeling that sense of not really caring what, like I'm doing a specific move, but really the intention is move for pleasure, move for what feels good in your body. And things like Nia, Ageless Grace, there's other modalities that allow that to happen. And what I think is important, all of these tools can stand by themselves, but I believe it's important that we bring them together, like relaxation, the aromatherapy, the movement. All of them are important, and bringing them together as part of a health plan, whether you're dealing with a condition, whether you're dealing with general health maintenance. I think it's important regardless. It's something I do all the time. It's important for my health maintenance and my well-being. And so that's, I think, something you mentioned the energy, because each of these employs energy. And so when you are in stress, your frequency, your energy lowers, and these tools can be used together to help bring your frequency, your energy up. And I kind of share it like, like a buddy system. I can get a job done, but if you help me, we can get it done quicker. And it's the same with, I can give you a breath technique, but if you want to do a breath technique with aromatherapy, then we're just enhancing that tool together. And that's what S.T.E.P does. It really talks about how can you bring these together to really bring the system back to that place of balance and peace quickly and effectively.
Oh, I have so many questions.
Yay!
It's so exciting because I just feel like, we're all being asked to step into the bigness of who we are. And so on the other side of that, these beautiful programs that attend to the bigness of who we are. And, you mentioned working in the clinical setting, but also having these tools and techniques and this program applied to just our, everyday person like me. For the movement, if I was in a wheelchair, or if I, had limited movement for some reason, can we still, are there adaptions, or are the movements, and I'm just curious, like, can everybody use these?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Of course, people are dealing with different things. And even my current setting is oncology. And we do have, some oncology patients. They're dealing with, different treatments, and they can be extremely fatiguing. So it is something that, we encourage. Do this from a chair, but just that's one of the things that really can help energy is moving. But there are times, you're right, there are times that maybe somebody is totally wheelchair bound and they can't physically, like even move fingers or, move head or shoulders. So that's where we can use some of the imagery
Uh,
and actually, again, combine those pieces together and use the imagery with the movement, even enhancing it with some aromatherapy and putting those tools together. So absolutely, it can be something that can be done and adapted based on what you're dealing with at this time.
well, I'm curious, you've piqued my interest. What's one of your, maybe favorite exercises or practices in the program for relaxation?
Yes, for real. I think one of the biggies that, and I've been really kind of talking about this a lot now because of the research that's out there about heart balance.
Mm.
And our heart center, the heart chakra, is in the middle of our chest. We're both wearing green. It's a
Yeah.
color of the heart chakra. And so the times or the moments that you're feeling, okay, I'm running, I'm just moving. Take a moment, place your hands on your heart center, and take a moment to breathe in through your nose and breathe out gently through your mouth. Now, as you breathe in, bring in a memory that is one of love, of joy, of peace. It might be a favorite place, it might be an event, but really bring that intention of that memory as you breathe in and as you breathe out, and hold that feeling of that memory in your heart. It's really focusing on the energy of that memory, breathing it in and holding it in your heart, even as you breathe out, slow and easy. And feel the feelings of that memory in your heart. They might be emotions of joy, glad, happy, love, whatever it is, really go to the feeling of that emotion and its focus in your heart center. And let that feeling flow throughout your body. As you continue to breathe, it flows out beyond your physical body, holding you in that space. Staying with that energy of that feeling. Slowly come back to your breath and let the breath out slowly bring you back.
That was so fast, and I feel like a new person.
Isn't that amazing? And it,
Yeah.
it, I was looking, I think it was something like maybe a minute or so, that we did that. So yeah.
Oh, Deborah, that's so beautiful. And our ability to tap into those feelings, the
Yes.
timelessness of those feelings. And I don't want to get too much about me here, but in that in that experience, I was suddenly the image that, or the memory that came over, was with my father on our farm cleaning out these filters on our irrigation system for the plants.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, I know that is just like the most bizarre feeling, but I realized in that moment what I was tapping into was this really sweet connection with
Yes.
my father. And
Yeah.
then I realized, I've been really needing and missing that since COVID. And so the many layers of that experience really and profoundly moved me, because it wasn't just tapping into any feeling. It was a specific feeling connected to a specific need that, and that now I will end this interview, not right now, but when we end naturally,
Yeah.
and take that need out into my life.
I think that's a great experience to share. Thank you for sharing that with all of us, because I think it does it really shows the power of what can be done for healing. And that's truly healing. That is a healing experience that you had. And it is much deeper. And there is the research behind what's going on with our emotional heart. And when we are feeling stress and we're feeling discomfort or pain, we're affecting our emotional heart. And what is happening is it really does affect our physical heart. Mm. And it's something that can be seen on our heart rhythm. So that is so important to take that time and really honor yourself and give yourself those couple of minutes to just come back to that place of balance and peace. And then to explore whatever message came up for you, that is truly something to then move forward with if you wish. So that's great.
Debra, what does it look like in the heart rhythms? You mentioned the research, like, what's the difference that you're seeing, or the data points, if you know it?
Yeah, well, just basically what's happening is when we are under stress, or when we are holding on to something like anger, or we're holding on to, those emotions, what is happening is actually the heart rhythm, which when you think about an EKG rhythm, these strong points, they actually start to dampen, they start to weaken. And so that is, kind of going on with what's happening in what we call the conduction, or the electrical conduction within the heart is actually being affected. And so it just like when we feel that joy, the heart rhythm kind of amps up. Oh. And it really does affect what's going on physically. And so even people that we might be with, and you've heard those things like, boy, that person really drains me.
Yeah.
It really is something that can be affecting your heart rhythm at the same time. That is something they've also noticed. So the energy of others around you and how you are letting that affect you is also something that is science, as far as.
Yeah. So it's like that energy of entrainment, and then we're kind of all resonating together, which makes me curious now about your work in healthcare settings, because talk about an interesting environment when we look at energetic entrainment, because you have patients that are suffering and or sick, right, by no fault of their own, right. Just really their vibrations low. And then you've got the nursing staff that's running around just doing their angelic work at high speeds. They're like the roadrunner angels in the planet.
I like that. Roadrunner angels, you're right. Yeah.
The doctors, the machines. And so you focused your work in healthcare settings. And so what are you seeing, and why is it important?
Right. Well, I can share both sides. From the patient side, from the patient perspective, actually, I feel very grateful to be able to, this is my role in the healthcare setting, in the cancer center, is to provide things like healing touch, aromatherapy, gentle movement to our patients. And it has been amazing to see what just these small different therapies can do profoundly affect somebody in their life. Having a young man who was just getting extremely nauseated, just to come to the center and just thinking about that, and just doing a session with him with imagery. Where's your happy place? Finding out the happy place was playing baseball, and then using an aromatherapy that helped him use it as like a trigger. So peppermint was good for him because it reminded him of chewing gum while he was playing baseball. So just these little triggers that we can put together. And then it was just with that one session, that's all he needed was to smell the peppermint, and it reminded him of his happy place and not being nauseous anymore. For staff, we're using things like breathing and relaxation and just kind of helping them move with shoulders and neck movement. During COVID, especially at its peak or when it was first starting to hit the healthcare setting, really our focus was on staff and really helping them to cope, because things were changing so fast that, again, talk about trying to catch up. And you get one protocol down, it's like, wait a minute, got to change it. That's not right. And so again, finding the breath and finding the aroma that really kind of helped them to come to a place of peace was something that we could do very quickly and actually help our staff during those really challenging COVID times.
That makes, I was listening to you talk and I was like, oh, it's a shame the hospital system can't, over the loudspeaker when they're like code orange and it's like,
yeah, right.
Code soft peach. And then everybody, you could just see, like, that's the code for, oh, I got to do my breathing.
Exactly. There is one of our units has done something like that. Like at the top of the hour, everybody does like their little happy dance. It's like, okay, it's top of the hour. Let's breathe and let's just move a little bit, kind of and the patients have picked up on that, and they'll maybe kind of move a little bit out of their, the chemotherapy chair or something, they're kind of getting into that whole resonance of let's move, let's breathe, let's just be happy, think happy thoughts, and it is something you can employ very quickly in your department, in your setting. So you're not far off from thinking about that.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things I've loved about, my career with Heal and Touch practitioners and being a certified practitioner myself is learning different ways that the nursing communities, bring self-care to their units and the parties. I mean, like, I really do think nurses are the angels walking among us, and they are running among us because they're always running, but the creativity and the hats and the parties, and it's like the community is just so special. So Debra, we have come out of probably one of the worst years that we've seen in this century, and so I'd love to talk about COVID for a minute, and what you're seeing at the healthcare level, and what you're also seeing in terms of just us, our regular people, especially in terms of burnout. Okay, I didn't language this question very well, but nursing burnout, medical burnout, and then us, the consumers of medicine. What can we do if I was to go into the hospital and notice my nurse looking just ragged? How can I empower myself? What's going on both sides? Like, what's the perspective that I can take with me?
Yes. Well, I think, having those little tools that can mean so much. So even acknowledging that person who whether it's a nurse or maybe it's a colleague or a family member who is looking really ragged, stressed, and just saying, you know what, I'm just sending a happy thought. You look like you might be, not sure, but I'm just sending that happy intention for you. And, or if you know them well enough, just take a deep breath and just breathe in. If you do have aromatherapy you want to share with them on a tissue or something, this just makes me feel happy. I'm wondering if that might be something that feels good for you. But, I was on the other side as a patient and had gotten a challenging diagnosis. And it was really the nurse who really didn't know me, didn't know my history, but it was just what she said after, after the doctor had relayed the findings. She said, I'm praying for you. And just those words. She didn't know what my faith background was. And it really didn't matter to me, but just her caring thought and those caring words of, I'm praying for you. was just really something that touched me, and just knew there was a person who cared. And I think when we just share that thought from our heart, I'm sending I'm sending happy thoughts to you, or I'm really grateful you're here, with me. That can switch an attitude. I'm grateful for you. And anybody who's feeling like ragged, that's just going to that's going to make them kind of notice, like, oh, I do need to take a moment and breathe. So those are really, super things. But I have done that. I've gone into the nurse's station and have just said, whoa, I can feel the energy here. And it's, and they know what I'm saying. They know, they don't have to know about energy principles and all that. They know what I'm saying. And they'll be like, you're right. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do to help you? And it might be just acknowledging, hey, we need to shift this. Or it could be, I would like some aromatherapy. I'd like to help breathe. I'd like to just kind of move a little bit. So that's it. It's very simple. It doesn't have to be huge amount of time or a huge amount of tools.
It's interesting because in some ways as a patient, you're in the doctor's office or the hospital to be seen. And so what I heard you saying was, well, allow your practitioner to be seen as well.
That's very good. Yes. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
You know, and then we're in that cycle of caring and I cannot say that word.
Reciprocity. Yeah. Beautiful. But, I do want to mention something you brought up about burnout, because with COVID, and that's kind of where I know you started, was it really put an awareness on health providers, nurses, how much stress they were under, even first line, support. And their stress has always been there. But I think with COVID, it amped it up. Of course, it amped it up greatly. And that should be a concern for all of us, because with an increase in stress and with an increase in unavailability of, there are programs out there for people, but it's not something they can use right now. It's like, I have to make an appointment. I have to get to you, that kind. What can I do right now in this setting where I'm feeling stressed, weight of the world on my shoulders? Those are some of the tools that I'm hoping we can get out to people, because it's a concern to me right now. And I'm hearing this and I'm seeing it, I'm reading it, is that our turnover is even greater in the healthcare setting. The people who are great nurses, great providers are leaving, or they're, and that should be a concern as a consumer, as well as if you're in the healthcare setting, because those are good people that we're losing. And we're losing them, and they're still not getting their help that they probably really need to help their whole self come into that place of wholeness. So I think, it's important for us to get that message out. You may or may not be a health provider, but you are a consumer. You may know somebody, and to, really help get those tools, to acknowledge them, to say, there are some services that are available for you, and to really get that message out. I think it's really important for all of us. With COVID, with the opioid crisis, with the mental health challenges, those have all amped up since we've seen COVID really hit hard. And coming out of it, we might be feeling relief, but we are still facing those challenges that have come with that stress and chaos.
Well, Debra, I have just really enjoyed talking with you today and learning more about your S.T.E.P program. And I'm curious how people find you. And I know that you have a free, 3-part series that people can sign up for. Can you tell us a little bit about how to find that? I'll be going right after the interview.
Yes, super. Yes, you can find me on my website, which is Debra Reis, Debra, and then my last name, Reis.com. So that's really easy to find me on my website. And then you'll see the 3-part video series, and there is a link. I'm not sure if that will be on here, but the link is there. And you can just click right on that 3-part video series, and it's going to go right through those 3 pillars: the relaxation, the aromatherapy, the gentle movement, and something you can do for you in 5 minutes or less. So that's how you can find me. And hopefully let me know what you think of the series, and if you find it to be helpful. I'd like to know.
I will do that. Thank you so much, Debra.
Oh, thank you. It was just a pleasure being here and sharing with you. Thank you so much for bringing me, for sharing your time with me. I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Great to have you.